Hi, my name is Faith Lindner. I'm in Computer Science 111 at Texas A&M, and today I'm going to teach you about while and for loops in Java, and also how to code the penny drop game. So basically the rules of the penny drop game is there's one board, and the board has 6 slots. So slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, slot 4, slot 5, slot 6. And you have a dice. And when you roll the dice, you put a penny in the corresponding slot. And you start out with both players have 12 pennies, and there's 2 players. And so say you roll a 1, you put a penny in the 1 slot, but you cannot roll a 1 again. Then if you do, you have to take all the pennies off the board. So say I roll a 1, a 3, and a 5. If I roll any of those numbers again, then I have to take all the pennies off the board. But you can roll an unlimited amount of 6s for both people. And so you can also have the option not to roll again. So you could roll as many times as you want. But if you roll like a 1, a 2, and a 3, or like any number, or if you just like put any pennies on the board, when the next player goes, they cannot roll that number again either, or they have to take all the pennies off the board. And the first person to run out of pennies the first to run out of pennies wins the game. So let's talk about while and for loops. So loops can execute a block of code as long as a specified condition is reached. Loops are handy because they save time, reduce errors, and they make code more readable. The while loop loops through a block of code as long as a specified condition is true. A Java for loop is used to run a block of code for a certain number of times. The syntax for the for loop, is the initial expression initializes and or declares variables and executes only once. The condition is evaluated. If the condition is true, the body of the for loop is executed. The update expression updates the value of initial expression. The condition is evaluated again. The process continues until the condition is false. So to construct the penny drop game, so let's start with, so of course at the beginning, and at the very beginning, the person who, the 2 players roll the die, and whoever rolls the highest gets to go first. So, of course you start with your imports, and we'll be doing this in J.OptionPane. So, your imports, your main, or your class, main, and then declaring your integers, strings, and variables. Then you make an intro explaining the penny drop game, saying like, welcome, this is the penny drop game, it kind of explaining the rules, and then like, let's get started. So your introduction, and then first you want to put, so we're going to have 3 loops, and I'll explain why. But first you want to do the dice roll of whoever rolls the highest goes first. So you want that outside of the loop because you only want it to do once at the very beginning. So you put code for whoever rolls highest goes first, and then we get into the loop. So we want a loop because we want the player to the first player to roll the dice as many times as they want, and for it to just keep going and going until they roll the same thing and have to take the pennies off the board, or if they choose not to roll again. And my camera is not working. Give me just a second. This happens so many times. Give me 1 second. I don't know how to edit videos, so I'm just gonna fix it right now. Let's see. Here I am. Okay. So, what was I saying? So yeah, we want it to loop until they have to take all their pennies off the board if they roll the same thing, or if they say no, that they don't want to roll again. And so we're going to use a while loop for that. And let's see, let me draw out the structure of it. My PC is very slow, I'm sorry. So here is your first while loop, or the while loop for player 1. Oh, my bad. Okay, draw. So here is the while loop for player 1. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. So while loop for player 1. So the condition I'm going to set for this loop is, oh my gosh, my camera's not working again. Sorry, guys. Okay. So the condition I'm going to set for the player 1 while loop is I also use if and else statements. So I'll show you in a second. I use an if statement before this. But as long as current player equals 1. So player 1 is playing. And so this is going to have all the rules that I'm going to set. Oh, up here, I also set all the slots equal to 0. So this just includes all the rules of the game. If they roll a 1, put 1 in the 1 slot. If they roll a 2, put 1 in the 1 slot. But it breaks if they roll the same number and have to take their pennies off the board, or they have the option to say no to roll again. So that's the only time that these break. And I'm going to show you everything, walk you step by step on my code. 1 second. I'm getting so sick of this. Give me just 1 second. Okay. My computer is really bad. I built it with the cheapest parts I could find. So yes. So it's going to have the condition and it's going to break. We're just going to do it without a camera. So it's going to break if and also if they say no or they have to take their pennies off the board. And so instead of giving the computer an option to say yes or no, I hard-coded it with a for loop that they only play 3 times because I don't know how to randomize that. So they only roll 3 times. So we're going to have the for loop down here. And we're going to set that condition in just a second. Let's draw that out. So this is the for loop. And this is the computer's turn. So I coded it to play against a computer instead of having like 2 players. So let me get my okay. So this is the for loop. And since I want it to only run 3 times, we're going to do I equals 0. It's not supposed to be a capital I. And then I is less than 3. So it runs 3 times. Why is it making it capital? Anyway. And then the increment is positive, so we're going to do plus plus I. And so that is the condition for the for loop. We only want it to do 3 times. And I use an if statement before here, and I declare that current player equals 2. So, but since these break, they have conditions that make it break to go into the other loop, it would just end. Like the whole game would end because it's going to the for loop, it breaks, we're done. So what you want to do is you want to set another while loop at the very beginning to keep it all running until um, I'll show you the condition in just a second. Let's see. Let's draw this out. Oh, this took me 9 hours of work, by the way, and I worked 2.5 hours with my TA, and we just debugged and constructed. I had everything, so I coded this off the top of my head. I didn't really look up anything. I didn't use any Boolean statements because I'm not very experienced in those yet. This is a beginner's course, and so I just use if and else statements and while loops and for loops because that's what I understood the best, and I made it work. But I did have to work hard with my TA to figure out what needs to go where, like what brackets need to go where, all that sort of stuff. So it was just debugging and constructing with her. And then I taught my two of my classmates how to code this, and I explained it like thoroughly to them for 4.5 hours. So this took a very, very long time. But anyway, so here's our while loop, our first while loop that's going to connect everything. And the condition I set for this is so if player pennies is, it's only going to run if it's greater than 0. If it is 0, then it's going to stop. Or, oh wait, did I use and? I can't remember. I think it's and computer pennies. That would make sense. Pennies is greater than 0. And that condition is going to make it keep going until someone runs out of pennies, which is what we want. And then down here, I have like if they run out of pennies and the declaration of the winner. And like, yeah. So declaration of winner. Oh, I spelled that wrong. And the outro. And that's just going to say like you won, thanks for playing. Or computer 1, or player 2 won, thanks for playing. So yeah, now that we have all this, I'm going to walk you step by step from my code. So we're going to go to Atom and see how, so import class main. I didn't do multiple mains. That's another way to do it, but it's too complicated for me, so I just, coded off the top of my head with what I knew, and I got it to work. So coded 9 hours. I started at 11 a.m., coded until 8 p.m., I think. Yeah, 8 p.m. And worked 2.5 hours with my TA, came home, debugged, reconstructed, everything. Oh my gosh, it took forever. But anyway, class main. And so I declared an integer pennies per player, which is set equal to 12 because each player has 12 pennies. And then integer player pennies. And then I set it equal to pennies per player because this value is 12, and so perfect. Computer pennies. And then integer current player equals 1. And then we start our JOptionPane. And JOptionPane is going to make like a little window and give like yes or no options. It's going to do a lot of stuff like press like OK. It takes it like step by step. It's really cool. So I set current player equal to 1. And JOptionPane, I use the show message dialog to say welcome to the penny drop game. And then the input dialog, I declared a variable to say what is your name. And then I declared a variable, the output, welcome plus name, because I declared it as name. So welcome. And then I did show message dialog to output this like welcoming statement. And so I said, this game is designed to be played against the computer, which we will call player 2. The player who runs out of pennies first wins. Let's get started. And I added their name because that was a requirement to add names for like each turn. So I did. So I set integer option equal to 0. I declared string output 2, string output 3, which you'll see in a second. And then integer player role, integer computer role, and I set all the slots equal to 0. So the player role, this is the code to make a 6-sided die. We were taught this in class. And it uses math.random to randomize it. And so output 2 equals string format. I made it a string. You rolled A, and then %D means like the output of whatever this is. And then player role. So, like the previous thing that you did. And then I did show message dialog, printed the string. It's okay. Show message dialog is essentially a print line, in my opinion. So then I did the computer roll, did the code for the dice roll, and then player two rolled a whatever, and then uh, printed the string. So here's where I start my if statements, and whoever rolls highest first. If player roll is greater than or equal to, I also set it to if there's a tie that it goes to the player. So we put greater than or equal to. So if player roll is greater than or equal to computer roll, J.OptionPane show dialog, you rolled higher than player two, you go first, and then their name. And then I set current, if this is true, then current player equals 1. Else, player 2 rolled higher than you, player 2 rolls first, so current player equals 2. So here is our first while loop that connects everything together. So if player pennies is greater than 0 and computer pennies is greater than 0, then this is going to execute. And so I started before my while loop, if current player equals 1, and then set while, like this is true. Just because, like, it's just, like, putting it is true just basically makes it execute, like, without having to set a condition. And so, honestly, you could set the condition while current player equals 1, but I just did it this way because it made more sense to me. It was, like, more organized to me. So I did integer roll, and I did the code for the dice roll. And so I put declared a string, output 4, and put it to string format, and it says you rolled a D, %D, which is the whatever it is, and then that's the roll. And then output 4, I printed it. And so this is where we get to our rules, and it is long. I had to hard code each step. Yeah, it's just crazy. So let's start at roll 1. So if roll equals 1 and current player equals 1, and there is not more than 1 in the slot, so greater than or equal to 2, because if there was 1 in the slot, then they're going to have to take all their pennies, which we code in next. So if that's true, or all these things are true, then slot 1 equals slot 1 plus 1, so it's just adding 1 to the slot and taking away the player's pennies. And so, if slot 1 is greater than or equal to 2, so there's 1 already in there, and current player equals 1, then it's going to say you already have a penny in slot 1, and so it takes the player's pennies that they have originally and adds each slot, or each penny in each slot to the player's pennies. And then set all the slots equal to 0 because it cleared the board. And then it says, you have to take all your pennies back and prints how many pennies they have. And now it is player 2's turn. And so I set current player equal to 2. So it goes to the for loop and break. So it's going to break out of this loop. And the same thing goes for each slot. I coded the same thing for each slot, except for I just did this for roll 6 because you can roll an unlimited amount of 6. You can put as many as you roll into that slot without having to take it back. So another if statement, and this is going to be if the option to roll again, and it's going to show what each slot has after each roll. So if there is not more than 1 in each slot, it's going to say slot 1 has slot 1, slot 2, slot 3. It's going to show what's in each slot. And then this is where we declare our integer choice, and it's going to give show option dialog gives them an option to say yes or no, or as many things as you want. Like it could just be like an option, like any option. And so, would you like to roll again? Your turn, and it gives the option yes or no option, question message, and no, no, no. And so if the choice is the yes option, then continue. So keep going back through the loop. If choice is no, then it's going to say it's now player's 2 turn, and set the current player equal to 2, and then break out of this loop. Now we get to the computer's turn. And so I put an else statement since I started that one with an if statement. And so if player, and also making sure that nobody's at 0, because then we want the winner message to show. So as long as the player pennies are not equal to 0, either one, we're going to start with our for loop, and this means it's going to run 3 times. The increment is positive, and integer I equals 0. And so the code for the roll, player 2 rolled a whatever roll, outputting the string of the previous thing, and then if roll equals 1, it's the same thing. So each rule is the same as the first one, except it says like, oops, player 2 rolled a slot that already has a penny in it, whatever. And then now it says player 2 has this many pennies after this loop. And now I set the current player equal to 1. And if computer pennies is not equal to 0, then it says your turn. Whatever their name, whatever they put for their name. And so it goes back to player 1 until either one of them runs out of pennies, because we have those if statements and conditions and everything. And so out of this loop, since it's going to break out of the big while loop whenever someone runs out, because we set that condition, if the while player pennies is greater than 0 and computer pennies is greater than 0. It's going to say if player pennies equals 0, then congrats, you won, thanks for playing, and else you lost, player 2 is the winner, thanks for playing. So hopefully all of that made sense. I mean, I explained it for like 4.5 hours to my friends, and they really understood it. So, and I explained it this way, so hopefully that worked. I love explaining things to them. It's so fun. Love them. But so now we're gonna I'm gonna show you how it works. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. What the heck did I just do? Okay, anyway. So PowerShell. Oh gosh. PowerShell. And we're gonna, oh, I didn't even save it. Hold up. So Control S. And now PowerShell. We're gonna do Java C. We're gonna compile it. Penny drop dot Java. And now Java penny drop. Could not. Oh, I forgot to change the class. My bad. This was how I had to turn it in for the assignment. Penny drop. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to compile it again. And there we go. So it says, welcome to the penny drop game. What is your name? My name is Faith. And it says, welcome, Faith. The game is designed to be played against the computer, which we will call player 2. The player who runs out of pennies first wins. Let's get started, Faith. So you rolled a 4, player 2 rolled a 1. You rolled higher than player 2, so you go first. You rolled a 1, and I'm just going to keep rolling until I already have a penny in the slot, just to show you what it does. Would you like to roll again? Yes. You rolled a 5. You rolled a 1. Oops, you already have a penny in slot 1. You have to take all the pennies on the board. Now you have 12 pennies. Now it's player's 2 turn. So player 2 rolled a 1, player 2 rolled a 4, player 2 rolled a 5. And I hard-coded it to just play 3 times until they like have a penny in the slot, or they just roll 3 times. So now player 2 has 9 pennies. My turn. You rolled a 5. Oops, you already have a 5. Player's 2 turn, rolled a 4. Oops, they already have 1 and 4. So player 2 has 9 pennies. My turn. Rolled a 1, and I have 14 pennies. So would you like to roll again? No. So it is now player 2's turn. Rolled a 6, rolled a 5, 9 pennies. You rolled a 5. I'm just going to keep playing until somebody wins. Player's 2 turn. You rolled a 1, 6, 3, 11 pennies. Rolled a 2, rolled a 4, rolled a 3, and then I'm going to say no. Player's 2 turn. Rolled a 3, 14 pennies. Rolled a 6, rolled a 3, rolled a 4, rolled a 2, and then I'm going to say no. I like to go 3 times because, I don't know. Rolled a 4, 17 pennies. You rolled a 6, you rolled a 1, you rolled a 2, rolled a 4, and now I'm going to say no. I won! Okay. Oh, I must have moved a bracket. It's not supposed to play, it's not supposed to put It is now player's 2 turn. It's supposed to just say congrats you won. So I must have accidentally moved a bracket whenever I copied and pasted, but originally it did not do that. I'm just not going to fix it because you get the idea. So thank you for watching, and hopefully that made sense. The brackets are very, very important. You have to put them in the right spot for this because it will just do what you don't want it to do. Like, that's what I struggled with the most, is figuring out where to put these freaking brackets. It was just like a mess. And so I had to organize it, and then I had to just figure it out. So it's supposed to say if computer pennies is not equal to 0. So it should say, let's see where I messed up. Oh, it's supposed to be and. Oh. That's weird. Didn't I put if computer or if where did I put now it's player's 2 turn? I thought I put if. Oh, okay, that's fine. Anyways, so that's the end. I thought I did that. That's so weird. But thank you for watching. Hopefully that made sense. And hopefully I get extra credit for this video. Okay, bye.